You're going to want to load up on some cheap dollar store hula hoops this summer after you see this fabulous entertaining hack. I'm laying down 6 21-inch hula hoops on some butcher block paper. Each hoop is getting spray painted in black. I applied several coats to ensure all areas were well covered. Since these hula hoops were covered in some kind of decorative tape, it required a little extra paint to cover the pattern, but it worked out great. I'm going to join 4 hoops to the first hoop, attaching evenly on all 4 sides. I'm attaching the first hoop loosely with a black zip tie, also from the dollar store. 3 more hula hoops are being attached to the first hula hoop, creating an even pattern of 5. A 6th hula hoop is being placed on top of an exterior hula hoop and attached with a zip tie on its left side only. Each hula hoop on each side is being positioned vertically, then attached to the top hoop to create a cube shape. Each zip tie is being trimmed off with scissors to clean the ends up. I'm attaching some lightweight twine to one side of the top hula hoop with double knots. Leaving the roll intact, I'm stringing the twine across the top hula hoop in random places to create a spiderweb effect. The twine is being wrapped twice around the hoop with each stop for added strength. Keeping the twine as tight as possible is the key. To end the twine, I'm leaving lots of extra twine before cutting it off the roll, then knotting and trimming the ends. Now I'm positioning the wood round onto the twine. And you now have yourself a stylish and affordable outdoor table that's lightweight enough to carry wherever you wish. Since it's weather resistant, this little outdoor table is perfect for a porch, patio, or even a lawn party. And who even knew hula hoops could look this chic? Thanks for watching Hometalk, and see you next time.
I have a blank wall in my garden that needed some attention. I went to the store and grabbed some hula hoops along with black matte spray paint. Once I got home, I laid out the hoops and painted each one with the paint. I sprayed each hoop with several thin layers of paint. I allowed each layer to dry completely before turning the hoops over to spray the other side. I love the matte black because it gives them the look of wrought iron. Now to assemble the trellis. I took the hoops out to my garden and decided to attach them to my house using small poultry staples, which I hammered into the area between my wood siding. I then slipped a piece of pipe cleaner through the hole and attached the hoop, twisting the ends together. I designed my layout to fit the space by holding up each hoop and deciding where to attach it. Once the hoops were attached to the siding, I used black electrical tape to join the hoops together where they crossed over each other. Now to attach the plant. I chose a climbing rose named Lady Beard, which will continue to send out long stems, and in the spring, small white bunches of fragrant roses will fill the stems. To attach the plant, I carefully moved each stem, bundling some together, and following the curve of the hoop. I love the look of my new trellis, and it was so easy to make. It's lightweight, it's sturdy enough to hold the plant. And as the plant grows, I can simply add additional hoops. I hope this inspires you to build your own trellis today.
I found an unused hula hoop in the toy chest, so I picked up a few more, and today we're going to put this hula hoop together. This one happened to come in 6 pieces, and I had to have some extra handy hands here because this is really hard to put together. So okay, now we've got 2 hula hoops and we're going to put them together just like this. Okay, now we're going to wire it. So I've taken this paddle wire and I'm going to secure it as tight as I can at the top. Okay, now I'm just going to leave this end sticking up, and then I'm going to come around and then go around the other side. And you want to pull really snug when you do this. And we're going to come back around with that tail and we're going to secure it. And just tuck your little end in. Just like that. Now we're going to turn it over and do the exact same thing to the bottom. So the beauty of these hula hoops is that they come apart. So on the third one, I undo it so that the one end is on the top, is on the outside, and the bottom is on the inside. So then I'm going to push this together and then I'm going to secure it with a wire. Okay, now that our orb is together, we're now going to spray paint it. I'm using this Color Shot black matte paint, and we're going to spray the entire thing. I like this paint because it has really good coverage. You can see how well that's covering. So you're going to have to do part of it and then let it dry and then come back and do the rest. Now our orb is painted and I'm going to add some fairy lights. So I bought these fairy lights at Michael's, and what I love about these is that there's greenery on the wire. I bought one strand of lights for each hula hoop, so I bought 3 of these, and I've tied them onto a knot here, and then I'm simply going to wrap them around the hula hoop and turn it as you go. Each of these strands are 10 feet long. I had this all in one piece, but it wants to spring apart, so I'm just going to let it be, and then I'm going to keep going until I've gone all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to attach the second strand of fairy lights, so you can see that I just kind of tied that right there. Then I let that go. I'm going to try to keep this one together if I can this time, and I'm just going to wrap around again. Okay, so now it's time to place my orb. I've decided I'm going to put it in this empty bird bath that the only thing I can grow is ivy. So I have put the 3 controllers for the lights in a flower pot, and you're going to see I'm just going to place this right in the middle, just like that. Now, I know I don't want to look at those controllers, so I've got this sweet little bird's nest, and I'm just going to place it on top so that you don't see the controllers. Now, I have planted some ivy and around the edges, or I had it there actually, and you can wrap some of this ivy up and around, and it will grow on the hula hoop eventually. Might take a little bit of time, or you can just leave it to hang over as well.
I'm Meredith from Arts and Classy, and you're watching Hometalk. All right, so we're going to start with our nice big kid-size hula hoop, and we're going to be taking it outside to spray paint it with this metallic finish spray paint so we can make it one nice uniform color for this fun decor piece. Now that my hula hoop has been spray painted and it has dried, I'm going to be taking a really pretty sheer kind of shiny ribbon, and I'm going to be measuring to push it over and wrap it around the hula hoop. We're going to do about 5 different strands. So we got those 2. Now we're going to do one that's a little bit longer, that's a little bit further in. And I'd rather it be a little longer than too short, because you can always trim a little extra off. So we're going to start with our middle piece, and then we're going to work our way out. So I'm going to use a hot glue gun. Just make sure you don't burn yourself. And this hot glue takes about a minute to set. All right, so when we come back, we are going to have completed adhering our ribbon to the hula hoop. So now that this has all been covered, I'm going to set it aside, and we're going to get to preparing our flowers. I was really excited that I found this from a previous project, all these eucalyptus. I think I got these on Amazon. And all of these flowers and this ivy I got from the Dollar Tree. All right, so what we're gonna do is we are actually going to be clipping, because I don't need the bases for these, I'm gonna be clipping each individual stem. So we're gonna take the ivy and we are going to wrap it around. I'm gonna start it kind of at the center, and we are going to secure it over the ribbon so you can't see any of the hot glue that I've already applied. And I'm gonna take the rest of my ivy and I'm gonna kind of wrap it around the remainder of the hula hoop. Now I really liked this ivy for this project because I really liked the big leaves and I wanted that to be like a filler for covering a lot of the ribbon. So that's why I'm starting with the ivy first, and I actually am finding a lot of success with hot gluing the leaves that maybe I want to stay in a specific spot. I'm actually hot gluing them to the hula hoop. All right, so now I'm gonna take my eucalyptus and I'm gonna start adding it in. So I have some floral wire that I might end up using for this project as well. So I'm gonna kind of nestle this in so it just looks like it's a part of this ivy. Now we're gonna go in with some white flowers and start adding them. I've got a lot of options. And I may just take the base and glue them in, or I may use wire depending on the flower. I just wanna make sure that I'm holding on to this to make sure that it has enough time to dry. Like these little flowers, they kind of tuck in nicely around what I already have going on, and that's kind of why I like doing the bigger leaves first, because it kind of gives you more of a foundation and it adds like a lot more fullness to it. Just gluing at the base of the bud of the flower and then nestling it in where I think it would work well. All right, so we're gonna keep moving along to the other side to cover up some of the ribbon and to add some more flowers and foliage. We will be right back so we can get to that next step. So for this step, I'm actually using wedding photos. So what I did is I accumulated all my wedding photos, turned them black and white in a photo software. I cropped them to be square and I printed them out as a contact sheet on glossy paper. Just make sure that you're taking your time when you are actually cutting, because if you're going too fast, this can jump the ruler and you can end up cutting yourself, so be careful. You can also, instead of using an X-Acto blade, if you want to use scissors, you can always cut out your photos that way as well. So I put all of my photos that I printed in a specific order so that I can go down on the columns of ribbon. So I'm actually going to be applying with hot glue because I don't plan on moving these. So all I'm going to do is a little dollop of hot glue on the back and then adhering. So we will be back once we have finished all of them. All right, there you have it. My photo hula hoop display turned out pretty awesome in my opinion. I'm very excited with the finished product. I hope you feel inspired to try it yourself. Thank you so much for watching Home Talk, and I will see you next time. Bye.
What I did was I laid out some cardboard, spray painted it a couple of times. It's always best to make sure you paint it with a couple of light coats first rather than one heavy coat. So I also turned it around, got all the back sides. As for the wood, I went ahead and cut this already, and I'll show you how we measure for it. But what we're gonna do is let's start putting our project together. So the first thing I did was I measured on my hula hoop exactly where I wanted the boards to go across. These ended up being 22 inches across. Always make both boards the exact same length. Then what I did was you're gonna take your first hula hoop that's already painted, and I already stained the wood, and you're gonna set it on top of the boards. You wanna make sure that if there's any imperfections in the hula hoop, you're gonna put it between the two boards, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So we'll put it on top just like that. Make sure that the corners of your wood is showing a little bit so that when you drill through, you'll have some kind of good grip on there. Then what you'll do is take your tape measure, measure between the boards. This one is 10 1/4. Go down here. This will also be 10 1/4. It's perfect. Then what we're gonna do is drill through all four corners here. Now, every time you drill, you're gonna put one of the screws in. Where this, let's say this is gonna be the top board, you're gonna put one of your hooks in with it. So you'll put that through just like that, make sure it's facing up, and you'll screw it through it. The reason you do it, drill once and put it in once, is so that it holds while it's going in. Make sure you don't squeeze the hula hoop too much on it. Now what you can do is reposition. We're gonna do the same thing over here, just like that. And this one will also get a hook that goes with it. And again, remember, don't squeeze it too much. You want to get it down to where you just touch the top of the hula hoop and leave it like that. That's our first hula hoop. Now what we're going to do is turn it around and do the other side. Look at that. Now that we got our shelves on, look at this. We're almost there. This is looking great. Now I'll show you the next part. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of dab of glue right next to the screw of hot glue, put it right there, and what you're going to do is take your rope, make sure you don't get too close to the glue, put it on right there. What you want to do is go over the screw, just like that. Now what you're going to do is take the rope and just gently wrap it around the loop. Keep it bunched up like this because the last thing you want to do is just be forcing it through the whole time. So it doesn't have to be the prettiest wrapping, because what you're going to do is when you get it down here, you can always just bring it down like this and just keep wrapping. So once we get to the end, we're going to go ahead and put on some glue. Go ahead and go around the side. Hold it right there. That way it covers the screw. Now if this was the front side, you'll wrap it towards the back. We'll go ahead and cut the excess off. Just like that. Now what we're going to do is we'll just pick it up, turn it around right there, and we'll do this side. Now that's why I was showing if you have any kind of blemish on the loop, this is great to have it wrapped. So what we're going to do is wrap all 4 sections, and I'll show you the final product when we're done. And there we are, our final product. Using the hooks on the back, you're able to take some screws and mount it to the wall. Decorate it as you would, and I'm glad you all joined us. Hope to see you next time.
Next time you're at the dollar store, grab a large wreath form, 2 small wreath forms, and 1 3D wreath form. Assemble the 3D wreath form according to the instructions. Start to cut the wire rings from each other on the large wreath form and the 2 small wreath forms. Take the second to largest ring and place in the center of the wire globe. Take 2 of the second to smallest rings and attach them horizontally between the center ring and the bottom of the globe. Take the smallest rings and attach them horizontally to each end of the globe, securing with floral wire. Starting at the top of the globe, tie a piece of jute twine in a secure knot. Start to loop and weave the jute twine over and under. Once finished with one section, skip the section beside it and start to weave the jute in the next section in the same direction. Work your way up the globe and weave the jute in every other section. Once you have the horizontal sections complete, start to weave the alternate sections vertically. Take a light cord and attach it to the top of the globe with the bulb hanging in the center of the globe. Use a very low wattage bulb that does not get hot. Hang your woven jute light fixture from a hook on the ceiling and turn on the light.
Run to the dollar store and grab some jute cord. You're going to need either 1 or 2 plastic bottles. Now for this larger bottle here, there's a groove that I'm going and cutting into. For this smaller container, I'm going down to the first groove and cutting it just like I did for the larger bottle. So now we're going to go and take some wire. You're going to want to go and cut a 3-inch section and then go up just about an inch more. So you have 3-inch pieces and you also have 4-inch pieces. So we're going to take a small amount of hot glue, put it onto one end, and we're going to go and slowly wrap the jute. We're going to go and bend this in half, make some points. Now take some hot glue on the outer portion of it, take it and stick it down onto some of your burlap. Now we're going to go and take some of the jute and we're going to glue it around the bottom along with all the way to the top of this cut piece of bottle. So go and figure out where you're going to place these and start to hot glue them down. Now I chose fairy lights for this craft. To secure the fairy lights, make sure to use a little bit of hot glue. For the smaller bottle, we're going to go and wrap it in jute first, and then we're going to go and glue down the petals. Now the only difference is that the wire should be facing inwards, so it's hidden by some of the burlap. Now stick the fairy lights in place. Now you're ready to go and hang these up in a place of your choosing in your home.
Pick up 1 garden border from your local Dollar Tree. Cut the spike bases off. Add small black zip ties to attach the wreath form to the border fence. Wrap the border fence with small twinkle lights all the way around. Add greenery of choice around the top of the border fence with hot glue. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own boho-inspired pendant light for your home for less than $10.
We are going to start with 7 of these bowls. You're also going to need some E6000. Just basically go around. You're going to place it on top. We're going to do this again. So I'm going to give these a little bit of time to cure. I'm going to be taking my E6000 and I'm going to go around the top of this, stack it on top, and we're going to do this one more time. I'm using Dixie Belle Vintage Duck Egg Chalk Paint. So I'm actually going to use E6000 for this step. Line it up, and then we're going to let that sit until it dries. And we are going to trace around the inside of the hole that I created. You actually will not need to paint the underside, just the sides and the top. I'm going to start with the bottom part, tilt that up. So we are going to take a solar light, placing it over, put the top part of our solar light, and it's going to nestle right in. Here is my finished DIY cordless solar lamp for my outdoor patio. These cute containers came from the Dollar Tree. To attach the pink to the purple, I'm going to go ahead and place the adhesive about right in there. Slide together. Very firm hold. Just pop it right in the middle there. I've got a large adhesive strip and I'm just going to put it on the back side of my sconces, and then I'm going to attach it to the wall.
I think it turned out super cute and not too bad for only $15.
The next time you are at your local dollar store, pick up some wire garden hanging baskets. Turn one wire basket upside down and place on top of a second basket. Secure together by using 3 zip ties that are placed equidistant from each other. Take a string of LED lights, hang the battery box inside the basket globe and connect to the top. Turn the lights on and wrap the lights evenly around the globe, both vertically and horizontally. Secure the end of the light string to the basket using a twist tie. Using a leafy garland of your choice, start to tuck and glue the different leaves to the wire basket globe. Now, remember all those chains and hooks that you removed from the baskets? Let's put them to good use. Reconnect these chains of different lengths to the hooks and tighten the hook back together using some pliers. If you have a porch swing, here is a fun way to hang the globes without drilling additional holes into your porch ceiling. Thread the stick through your porch swing ceiling hooks to create a horizontal rod and hang your garden globes from the branch. Use your remote to turn the lights on and enjoy the warm glow of your new outdoor lighting.
Run to the dollar store and go and grab a glass bottle. We are going to start off this craft with a cleaned out plastic bottle. So now we're going to line this up with the bottle. Go and draw a circle for where this is going to go and fit. Go and cut it out, put your glass into the hole. Now we're going to go and paint our bottle. Let it dry. Let's go and get these fake pearls and start to string them with some pipe cleaner, but leave one end unbended. We're going to go and poke some holes into our plastic bottle. Take the pipe cleaner, stick it in there, take the other pieces, go and stick them in as well. Hot glue where it meets with the pipe cleaner and also the bottle. Got some fairy lights, and we're going to go and stick them into where we have the center hole. Now let's take this base here, stick it in place. I am using cotton for this. Now let's go and glue these down. Use your fingers to go and poof it out. Go and use a fork to really go and poof it out even more. This cloud lamp is sure to light up any room, is so much fun to go and make, and is upcycled.
I'm going to grab me some solar lights. Next, head over to the hardware store. I'm going to grab me about 100 feet of nylon rope. First thing I got to do is blow up this dollar beach ball. Then I got to get out some Portland cement. Make sure it's not concrete, but cement. You want it actually really thin because we need to coat that rope. Now, on that beach ball, just start laying that rope. You're just going to start roping it all the way around. Once you get to the end, what you're going to do is tuck that last bit in underneath the rope. And it's going to hold it in place. Then what we can do is move on to possibly adding a little bit more cement. Make sure you cover all that rope. We want it to stiffen up as best we can. Let it sit for a couple hours once we get it covered. Once it's covered, take a knife and just puncture the beach ball. Once we get it all the air out, just go ahead and pull it through one of the bigger openings between the ropes. Now, I want to clean it up. Took a little bit of a plastic fork and just clean up the edges. Don't want anything flaking off. Take a squirt bottle and start squirting all the string, and you're just going to powder it with the cement. Just keep doing that all over. What this does is make it thicker and strengthen it up. We're going to grab that dollar light again. Take out the bottom part. You're going to turn it around, put it in, and that's what's going to stick into the ground. Go ahead and put it right into the ground, right in the area you want to put it, and then you're going to take your string orb and you're going to put it right over the light, right in the middle, and lay it on down. Once it's in place, it just looks really good, just sitting there. It's waterproof because it's on the nylon rope and it's made out of cement. But once night comes, look at it light up. It is amazing to see from your yard and from the street.
Run to Dollar Tree and pick up one large plastic bowl. Use a palette knife and drywall spackle to apply to the exterior of the bowl. Create a hole in the bottom of the bowl in the size of a light socket. Finish spackling around the hole. Add Dixie Belle's Slick and Stick to the inside of the bowl with a paintbrush. Take Modern Masters metallic gold paint, at least 2 layers. Sand the surface of the spackled exterior. Take Rub and Buff and buff into the surface of the bowl interior. Take a hanging light kit from Amazon, add a light bulb of choice, hang in place, and plug in. Create your own modern pendant light for less than $15.
When I came across this labeling hack, I just had to share it. Type out names for labels that will keep you organized. Print out your label list on plain, ordinary white paper. Cut the words apart, leaving a little bit of white space surrounding the text. Now, take some clear packing tape and lay pieces of tape over each word. It helps if you put a coin on the end of the tape so you can lift it easily later on. With the edge of a debit or credit card, press against the taped word and rub vigorously across the top of the tape. Trim off any excess tape with scissors, then simply drop it in a bowl of water. Make sure it is completely submerged and let it soak for a couple of minutes. Once it has soaked for a bit, lift it from the water and start to rub across the back of the word with your fingers. The paper pulp will eventually come off from the tape, but the text will still be there. No more searching for tea bags or coffee pods at our house with clearly labeled storage.
You want to make sure that you have a nice clean surface. Rubbing alcohol is a good option. You'll need some sort of stencil and line that up and then just press down firmly. And it's really important here that you maintain the best seal possible. You'll want to take some painter's tape and put it around the surrounding edges. Now that you have your stencil in place, it's time to apply the etching cream. I typically do about a 5-minute time to allow it to sit, and then we'll rinse it off.
Run it under a stream of warm water and just allow the cream to gently rinse off.
Once you have the etching cream all rinsed off, you can go ahead and remove the stencil and the tape. But we're going to take it one step further, and I'm going to be using this Rub and Buff product to add some color to it.
Once you're done, fill them up with your favorite contents and display. The options are absolutely endless.
I just went ahead and emptied out these containers, and then I went online and printed out what I wanted each one to say. So I'm going to be taking this piece right here, taping it to wherever I want this. You're gonna use whatever paint pen that you have on hand. All you're gonna do is just take your paint pen and then trace exactly what the word says. But all you have to do is just remove that. And then of course my double-sided tape stuck on there, and you can see the word just transferred really nicely there. This method gives it a really clean look. As you can see, the letters are pretty much exactly what I printed out, and it transferred perfectly onto the containers.
So the first step of this process is going to be emptying out our messy spice drawer. So now that we have our drawer dimensions, we're gonna go ahead and take a piece of just Dollar Tree foam core, and I'm only going to do 3 tiers. I'm just gonna do 1.5, and we're gonna get 3 of those as well. All right, so now we are going to cut these out. Now the final step is going to be taking 2 of these pieces. We're going to hot glue them, and you're going to want to make this a right angle. And now for the assembly. The rest of them I am just putting in. I'm gonna go ahead and take these glass jars that I found on Amazon, and now I'm going to take my first spice. And that is it. So now we're gonna close this up. So I got these from Etsy. You could really get them from anywhere. I believe Amazon has quite a bit of them, Etsy, and then you could just make your own if you'd like. We're gonna go ahead and start adding our spices. It's just so farmhouse and fresh. I
Love it.
I picked up these containers at Dollar Tree. They can be found in the travel section. The first thing I'm going to do is use some nice and strong super glue or E6000 and attach the magnets to the bottom of each one of the containers. While that's drying, I'm going to upcycle an old picture frame. On the back of this frame, I am going to add some magnets. Now I'm going to use these glittery black stickers I found just to put the word spices on the bottom of the frame. So I'm using a Sharpie to write the name of spices that I use most often right on top. Now it's time to fill up the jars. I'm going to put up the frame first where I want it, and then I can just stick the jars right on the fridge inside the frame. I love having these right at my fingertips instead of having to dig through a cabinet.
To begin, I purchased a 36 by 48 piece of acrylic from Home Depot. To prep the piece, I covered all 4 corners with 2 layers of painter tape, measured up and over 1.5 inches, and marked. I then used a regular drill bit to slowly drill the hole into the acrylic, making sure not to crack it. This will come in handy later. Making a rectangle, I measured up from the bottom 2.5 inches and marked it. 6.5 inches from each side and down 8.5 inches from the top. I used painter's tape to mark these measurements. Then, measuring 5-inch strips, I marked and taped off vertical lines and repeated this step for the horizontal lines. The tape I used to make these is called charting tape, but you can use any color tape that matches your decor. After all the lines were marked, I cut the excess tape off with an X-Acto knife and removed the painter's tape. I then went outside to give my sign standoffs a coat of gold spray paint to match the rest of my calendar. While these were drying, I secured my vinyl letters to mark the days of the week to the top of my calendar. I made these with my Cricut, but you could cut your own or get a set of stickers from the craft store to spell out the days of the week. Now it's time to hang. Having a partner comes in handy to hold the calendar up to make sure it's level and then mark the corners where you drilled. The standoffs I ordered came with anchors and screws, so I first secured the drywall anchors to the wall, and then I drilled in the base of the standoff. Then we lifted the calendar and slid the pre-drilled holes onto the screws and secured them with the stoppers. I am thrilled with how this calendar turned out. It's a chic way to plan out the week or the month without being a total eyesore.
Take an X-Acto knife and remove the lid flaps. Take hemp rope and a hot glue gun to begin wrapping the rope around the box. Take twine and begin gluing it to the perimeter of the bottom of the box. Take balsa wood oval or circle shapes and paint them with black paint. Print words to be displayed on the side of the box. Cut them out and use pencil to cover the back of the paper. Then trace the font on the balsa wood. Use a chalkboard pen or a white paint pen to cover the pencil traced font. Use a hot glue gun to attach the labels to the side of the box. There you have it, an inexpensive way to create your own pantry storage for your home for less than $10.
Step number 1, have this folk art acrylic craft paint. I'm using a dry brush, but I'm going to go in with my brush and we're just going to work on coating the basket. So we have the gray. Now we're going to go in with folk art honeycomb. I'm just going to take my palette. So we're going to give this a couple moments to dry, and then we're going to take some fun farmhouse style ribbon to attach it to our baskets.
There you have it. Here is the after of my Pottery Barn hack driftwood aged baskets that I made for a fraction of what you would pay retail.
Begin by emptying out your entire pantry. Your counters should look like this. Clean and measure your space. I'll be using a few different organizers like clear plastic bins, wicker baskets, turntables, and airtight containers. How much better does this look? Everything makes sense for my home and my lifestyle, and it's super easy to find.
Grab some inexpensive tension rods. Take 2 tension rods and install them horizontally in your closet. The front rod should be placed about a 1/2 inch lower than the back rod. This will give your shoes a slight angle forward without them falling off. You can organize boots as well. Place the tension rods vertically to keep boots upright and organized. Your boots can't help but stand at attention. Is the space under your kitchen sink a jumble of cleaning bottles? Clear out the space and install 1 larger sized tension rod horizontally and in front of any sink pipes. Hang all of your cleaning spray bottles from the rod. You'll be amazed at how much added space you now have. In any kitchen cupboard, install a series of 2 tension rods vertically and back to create the perfect system for storing baking sheets and muffin pans.
I grabbed 3 pieces of terrazzo stone. I added glue to one side and then put two pieces together in a T shape. I added more liquid adhesive and then added the top piece. I let the glue dry and was able to enjoy it right away.
Here's a really cool way to repurpose some shutters. Give your shutters a good wipe down. Cut down your wood to length. Give your boards a quick sand to make sure they're smooth. Place the boards on the shutters with the smooth side facing forward. Measure the board for the bottom. Now it's time for paint. Add some cute decor. You've got yourself a cute side table or a plant stand.
Next time you're at Dollar Tree, grab 10 floral foam rings, a pizza pan from the kitchen aisle, take some Gorilla Construction adhesive, spread it around on one of the rings. Take another ring, place it on top. You're then going to continue this process. Once you have all your rings stacked together, you just come in with a foam brush and just smooth it around. I took some Mod Podge and I sprayed on the foam rings and then I rolled it in the dirt. To get the desired color that I wanted, I then spray painted the entire thing. Once it was dry, I took my construction adhesive again and then I glued my pizza pan onto the top. Here is my gorgeous little side table for my porch.
I found this fun shower curtain. I'm going to start by painting the table. Use a utility knife and run it along the edge. I want to seal the paint to protect it. Put a layer of Mod Podge all over the glass, and now I'm going to lay the shower curtain onto it. I want to trim off the excess, add one more layer of Mod Podge over the top for added protection. This little table is so cute now, perfect for sunny days on the balcony.
Get this clay pot sealer and give it a nice gentle spray. Give them a coat. This Rust-Oleum, this silicone glue, waterproof, flexible. Pull my jute rope right into it. So I'm going to do the same thing right there. Open up the silicone. Put this all around the top, centered right on there. There we have my side table. I think this is exactly what you might want to make this summer.
The next time you're at the home improvement store, be sure to grab a couple of wooden crates. I'm going to use some brown milk paint to paint both of the crates inside and out. I'm going to use a chip brush, which is a really loose brush, with some white paint to cover the crates. But I'm going to add a little bit more white paint so that I see a little bit less of that brown. And it's time to attach the legs to the bottom of one of the crates. I'm going to attach all four this way. I want to paint the legs with the same white paint. I've grabbed this old cutting board, so I'm going to paint it the same creamy white that I painted the crates. I'm just going to use some wood glue to kind of tack them together. It's such a fun way to make a new piece of furniture and very inexpensive.
Start with 4 foam wreath rounds from Dollar Tree and paint them white with chalk paint. Glue 3 of the foam wreath rounds together with hot glue. Take stone spray paint and cover a stack of 3 and a stack of 2 foam rounds. Take 2 wood hoops and 1 metal hoop. Spray paint them white. Then use the stone spray paint after. Take a pizza pan and paint it white. Then use the stone spray paint after. Attach the hoops together with hot glue to create a 3D sphere. Use wood beads and hot glue them to secure the attachment to the foam rounds. Place the sphere on the foam stack. Cut 2 crevices in the foam to place the metal hoop. Then secure with hot glue. Place the 2 leftover foam rounds on the back of the pizza pan and secure with hot glue. Use rope and hot glue to reinforce the placement of hoops around the circumference of the circle. There you have it, an inexpensive way to create your own modern faux stone side table for your home.
Let's head down to our local hardware store and grab a pre-made round tabletop and set a planter on top. We need to draw a circle around the edge. Next, we're going to grab some Jenga pieces. We got to measure them out. We're going to glue these down all over. We're going to put this wood stain on, going with the grain of the wood. Just wipe it with the grain of the wood. Now it's some clear polyurethane. It's just mix the 2 parts of the epoxy together. We also need some color. Just lay that clear stuff right out and mix it all down with the stir stick. Next, it's time for turquoise. We're going to make sure that we rub it all over the board. Next, we're going to take some white. Next, grab your hairdryer and we're going to spread out that white epoxy. We want a second coat on top of the base. Mixing it as you go and start spreading it out. And you can use it for storage for blankets in the living room. Go ahead and put your tabletop on. So shiny.
giving this little side table a makeover. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually give it a coat of black paint. Now I've taken some creamy white paint and I've added water to it. I've ripped up some newspaper and I'm going to apply some of this paint. Taking pieces of the scrunched up paper, I press it into the paint and wiggle it around. Keep repeating the process until you get to the end. Now the tabletop is dry, I'm going to use this stencil. I'm going to give it 2 coats of this gloss decorator's varnish. Here's my finished tabletop. I think it looks quite effective. It's a very easy technique to do. I'm going to apply both these colours, the green and the blue, randomly over the top. I'm now going to apply 1 coat of a water-based top coat. I've used some cardboard and I'm just going to cut one edge, cutting very randomly on the bottom, grooves in it. In here I have some dark green paint and I've combined it with their water-based top coat. I apply the green paint on top and then taking my cardboard, going to randomly scrape into it. Okay, so then we go on to the next bit, working just randomly, but I decided to follow some of the contours with a metallic gold gel pen. And here's my finished table. I actually decided to paint the edges gold to tie in the gold that I had done on the top.
Head to your local Dollar Tree and pick up a lot of peel and stick subway tile. Take a degreaser spray and a rag and make sure the surface is clean. Get out the peel and stick tile sheets and begin at the top on one side of the space. Peel and stick to secure the subway tile to the existing tile. They interlock, so it makes this process a lot easier. Work your way around the tub. Take a metal ruler and a blade to trim the excess on the tub surface. Take caulk and apply it to the base and the creases for a more professional and waterproofing finish. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own easy DIY subway tile backsplash for your home for less than $50. We started with a completely bare backsplash. Measure the length and height of each panel will need to be cut to. Now mark the panels to the correct size to be cut and cut them with the saw of your choice. I used a jigsaw and a table saw to make the cut. I found it easiest to lay the panels flat on the ground in a line as I cut them to make sure they lined up exactly. Next, you will need to take the panels in and mark where notches may need to be cut in order for the panels to fit under the cabinets. Take a tube of toothpaste and squirt a little on the corners of each outlet. Then slide your panels into place. Then remove them again and the toothpaste will have transferred to the back of the panel, showing where you need to cut the hole for the outlet. Now you're ready to set your panels in place. First, put construction adhesive on the back of the panels and then press them into place. Use a nail gun or panel nails to attach the panels into place. Now it's time for the faux finish. Sporadically paint the bricks various colors. I use white, tan, black, gray, and brown. Then use a wet rag to blend all the colors together. Lastly, spread the spackle on like a thin coat of icing.
So this is grout, like what you would use for towel. It's pre-mixed. Where the border would be on the brick, it's where you're going to put this stuff with your fingers.
I hope this inspires you to do a faux brick backsplash for your farmhouse kitchen.
So I went to the dollar store and I bought 3 bags of those vase filler gems. After sorting them, I washed them off using Blue Dawn and water and then laid them out to dry. I drew lines from the edge of the vanity to meet the mirror line. I applied a thin coat of mastic using a small notched trowel. Then the fun began as I pressed the gems into the mastic. I worked in small sections so the mastic wouldn't dry too quickly. Once I was done, I mixed the grout. I mixed 1 cup of grout to a half a cup of water. I applied the grout in small sections, making sure I was pushing it between each of the gems. I wanted to make sure that every spot was filled in between them. After 1 hour, I checked again, and yep, it was nice and dry. Using a large spun and plain water, I washed away all of the excess grout. I removed the painter's tape that I had placed on the top of the vanity and applied caulk, smoothing it out with my finger. Now, what a difference it makes, and no more splattered wall.
After updating this 1980s kitchen, I knew it needed something more. So I decided to use an adhesive tile mat along with mosaic tile sheets, white grout, and a sponge. The adhesive mat comes on a roll. When it came to the outlets, I made sure the power was off and I simply cut the mat with a razor blade so that I could create an opening around the outlet and disposal switch area. When I was ready to place the tile, I removed the white cover sheet. You can use spacers when installing the tile sheets, but I felt comfortable working without them. The work progressed pretty easily, and I was lucky that at the first corner, the tiles ended in just the right spot. When I got to the second corner, I wasn't quite so fortunate. My husband was helping me out at the tile saw while I was doing the installation, and he went ahead and cut right down the tile mosaic sheet for me. When I got to the outlet and light switch area, I was able to press the tile into place just very lightly and then cut away the tile. I added the grout and then went over it with a damp sponge to get the grout residue off of the tile surface. I rinsed and repeated the cleaning with the damp sponge several times. I added the outlet covers, my decor items, and then I was done. It was a really quick and easy project, and I think the kitchen really changed as a result. Before you spend money on expensive tile, check out this $100 idea. I used shiplap and cut it to size the length of my kitchen wall, and then I painted it using a paint sprayer. I placed my first piece in the kitchen, and I made sure to mark where the outlets were. I needed to cut just the little tongue part of the shiplap to make sure that it would not go over the outlet area. I did this using a tool called a multi-tool. It worked well for me and was really quick. I simply placed the shiplap in place and secured it using a nail gun. I continued this way up the wall. It took me 4 pieces of shiplap to get to the top of the backsplash and fit right underneath the cabinet. After that, I put my new appliances in and added little trim pieces to the edges to give my project a finished look. The entire project took only 8 pieces of shiplap total, which ended up costing well under $100 and taking only a couple of hours to complete the project from start to finish.
So I went to the dollar store and bought 35 bags of gems. They were really dusty, so I removed them from their little bags and washed them with mild soap and water. After washing them, I laid them out on a towel to dry. Several months ago, I completed a backsplash in my bathroom above the sink. People commenting on that post asked for the entire wall to be covered with gems. So here you go. I began by drawing a level line a little higher than the backsplash. Then I measured the height of that line from the floor and made marks on the wall and connected the line. Another comment on that original backsplash post was that I didn't create a pattern on the wall. So on this one, I decided to draw some seaweed. After the pattern was drawn, I began to apply mastic inside the seaweed lines, filling them in with the different sizes of green gems. I worked on small sections of the wall at a time, working my way up the wall. Once I got to where I had put the original backsplash, I added the mastic and continued with the 3 different colors of gems. It was a little hard working around the toilet, but hey, with my skinny fingers, I made it work. I really liked using the different sizes of the green inside the seaweed. I think it gave it more of a texture and a really interesting look. When I finished applying the gems to the wall, I measured and cut a piece of chair rail and then fastened that to the wall with a brad nailer. I then took mastic and filled in the gap and then added more gems. I mixed my grout until it was the consistency of mashed potatoes. I applied the grout to the wall using a putty knife. And working in small sections, I added the grout and then removed the excess with a wet sponge. I love the way it turned out, and you can't tell where the previous backsplash ended and where the new mosaic begins. I also like having the pattern of the seaweed, so thanks for the suggestion. I hope this inspires you to look for hidden gems at your dollar store.
I recently noticed that my cabinets and my appliances were starting to turn yellow in my laundry room. It started to annoy me, so I decided to give the room a little love, but on a very tight budget. I used painter's tape and taped off the back edge behind the washer and dryer. I painted the back ledge behind the washer and dryer with Dixie Belle paint in the color Hurricane. I painted the yellowing part of the washer and dryer with Dixie Belle fluff paint, and then I followed that up with the Hurricane gray. Removed all the hardware from the cabinets and then wiped them clean. I bought some hybrid contact wallpaper online. I placed the contact paper on all of the doors and the sides of the cabinets. The contact paper was all in place. I was ready to put the new handles in the cabinets. I added a peel and stick backsplash to the laundry sink as well. I hope this inspires you to do an inexpensive laundry room update of your own.
We need a skinny roll of tape. And we also need some clear Elmer's glue. And our template for today is going to be an outside window. We got to put some of that tape on the window. Now, you can go ahead and take the tape and mask it to the grid that's already on the window, or you can just go random like I'm doing it. But the next step to this is we got to grab that Elmer's glue. Once we get some paint in there, all you got to do is just go back and forth with it, and it shakes up really nice. Next, move on to your second color. These are our 4 colors we're going to go with. Now, because it's on the Elmer's glue, it's actually non-toxic, and I used a foam brush to transfer it to the window. It's going to take multiple coats, but the glue and the paint dries really fast. You can actually put a coat on within an hour after you put it on. Once it dries overnight, you're going to take a knife and very gently, we don't want to scratch the window. If you try to pull the tape with it out using the knife, it may pull the glue off. Just go ahead and start pulling the tape off. It's another thing. When you're done with this and you want to change it or just take it off later, it peels right off. That's our final project. In the afternoon, when the sun hits the window, it just glows inside the room and gives it multiple colors.
We are going to make some beautiful home decor items using clear Elmer's glue. Up first, we are going to fill this vase with the clear glue. Then we're going to add in some clear and white decorative pebbles. Now I'm going to grab some faux flowers. Now I'm just going to stick these into that glue. Once you've got them arranged just right, set this aside and let it dry. Now you have a permanent floral arrangement that looks like it has these water and stones in the bottom of it. This is going to look great in your home. Next up, we are going to grab a couple glass mason jars. So you're going to grab a small dish and you're going to fill it with clear glue and a little bit of water. I used about 2 tablespoons of glue and about 1 tablespoon of water. Then I'm going to drop in a little bit of food coloring. Then stir it up until it's mixed really well. Grab your mason jar, make sure it's nice and clean. Pour that dark blue mixture into the jar and swirl it around so it covers everything. Once you've swirled it all around, you can dump the excess back into the original container. Now we want to let this drip for a little bit. Let it drip for about 10 minutes. Take a paper towel, wipe off any excess drips that are around the rim of the jar. Then place this upside down on a piece of parchment paper. Pop it in your oven at 175 for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, take it out, turn it right side up, and let it cool completely. These jars make great decor around your home. Just remember, they're not vases. You can't fill them with water, but you can definitely display some dried flowers in them. I'm going to take the piece of glass out, and I'm going to draw a grid of squares and rectangles with black puffy paint. When that's done, I want to let that dry completely. So I'm going to use a little bit of clear glue and a few drops of paint. So on that piece of glass where we added the puffy paint, when it's completely dry, I'm just going to use a popsicle stick and transfer some of those beautiful blue colors onto the glass. But a little goes a long way because you don't want this to run over the black line. Once everything is done, you can grab a toothpick and go back and just pop any of those bubbles that are in there. Then set this aside and just let it be. Once it's dry, pop that glass back in the frame, set it up by a window, and you have a beautiful piece of faux stained glass for your home.
The carpet in my office needed to be replaced, but it just wasn't in the budget. but torn and crumpled paper was. Mixing equal parts of glue and water, I made the paste for the floor. Using a wide paintbrush, I applied the glue to the floor, making sure I got underneath the baseboards. Then I laid down the paper and brushed the glue on top. I continued to apply the glue to the floor, then the torn paper, and then more glue over top of the torn paper. I switched out my brush for a foam roller to cover larger areas, but I kept the brush to use underneath the baseboard. After the glue dried, I applied stain to the floor using a foam roller. After the stain dried, I applied coat after coat of polyurethane. Using a lamb's wool applicator made this process so easy. I really love this floor, can you tell? I hope this inspires you to tackle this very easy project.
Quick trip to my local Dollarama. Separate the layers, cut the napkin so that you have enough to cover the body of the jar. Now I'm using some clear glue mixed with a tiny amount of water, paint it onto the side of the glass jar. Then lay down the paper nap and then using a piece of scrunched up plastic wrap, use that to pat down the napkin and eliminate any wrinkles that way. Draw around the lid because that will be the right size and cut out the piece of napkin, stick it to the bottom of the jar in the same way. Using the same process, cut out a circle for the top and a little strip for the edge and stick it in place. When it was dry, I decided to give it 2 coats of a gloss varnish. I have taken a battery-operated puck light and stuck it into the lid of the glass jar. And here are my finished chinoiserie jars. Don't they look great? I made a trip to my local dollar store. Taking a terracotta pot, I draw a very random shape. Taking the clear glue, I pour some onto the side of the pot, picking up some of the blue gravel and pat it down. I then put some of the silver glitter glue around the edge, and here is my geode terracotta pot. So I put 2 spoons of cornstarch and 2 spoons of Elmer's glue, and that's what we're looking for. I'm going to use this really lovely mandala stencil. Going very carefully, I'm now going to apply it. The whole stencil is covered, and now for the moment of truth. Very, very, very carefully lift this off. This is the next day now. I left it overnight to dry. Also sanded it very lightly. Okay, just going to give it 1 coat, then leave that to dry now. Just look how subtle this little design is on this tabletop. And all that with cornstarch and glue. It's really amazing.
So we're going to start with this cellophane piece here. So I'm going to make the line here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Just put a clear dot, or you could run a clear line. And next, I'm going to go ahead and place the cellophane onto the glue and glass. So I'll go ahead and continue putting the glue and the cellophane up on all the windows. Here it is, all finished, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
I took the table apart, separating the glass from the metal ring. Laid the glass on top of the picture. I mixed 2 parts white glue to 1 part black craft paint. I outlined the sun. And once the lines had dried, I cleaned up any lines that were too thick by cutting them away using a utility knife. I painted the background using a 1-inch wide brush. I added designs to each panel. I gave the paint 2 coats of spray sealant. I used a medium grit sanding sponge. I painted the metal bright blue. The table looks great in our outside space, and friends can't believe that I painted it.
I'm going to stick these grasses and weeds to this glass. Cut off these extra bits on the bottom. Now I'm going to stick the tissue paper to the vase. I'm going to use a glue stick and then just rolling it, pulling it tight on this side, some more glue down, and gently stick that in place too. I'm going to go around and just trim and just see how pretty these are. Really, really simple project to do.
Next time you're at the thrift store, pick yourself up a couple of lampshades. To begin my project, I just took apart the lampshade, so I just began with some scissors, cutting apart the fabric and ripping it off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this little knob back on. Then I'm going to go ahead here with a hot glue gun, just going to attach this faux moss onto the wired parts. I came in with these solar fairy lights and wrapped them all around my lampshade. At night, once the solar lights have charged, they light up and they provide just a cool atmosphere for my backyard.
First, let's prep the pumpkins. I spray painted all of the pumpkins a basic white. I lightly sprayed the pumpkins with a green spray paint, kind of like an overspray. Once they're completely dry, then we can reattach the pumpkin stems. I took an upholstery needle and pierced through the ball to create a little tunnel. And then I push floral wire through to the other side with the folded edge. Then on the other side, you've got two little tails. Just take each one of those tails, fold it around the edge of the pumpkin ball, and just stick it into the side of the ball. Now is the really fun part. We get to glue the pumpkins onto the styrofoam ball. Once the pumpkins and succulents are glued to the ball, you will notice there are still nooks and crannies, so fill those with moss. Finally, tie a ribbon to the wire loop that you made earlier on, and you now have a beautiful pumpkin ball that is ready for hanging.
So we're going to remove this stem. I'm using raw silk fusion mineral paint, and I'm going to mix it with baking soda to give it some texture. And the paint's still wet. Sprinkle a little bit of the baking soda on top and just sort of go like this. While our pumpkin is drying, I've got an ordinary $couple wreath, and I'm going to cover it with water, soften it, and I'm going to let it soak overnight. I'm going to put some Annie Sloan wax on it. I'm going to first put a coat of clear, and then I'm going to come back with a little bit of dark wax. I have quite the collection of real stems, and all we're going to do is simply hot glue this on and hold it. You can use any kind of a basket. And I have this tall flower pot that I'm going to put in the center. I have some old burlap bags. I'm now going to take a grapevine wreath, and I like to pull it apart a little bit and just fit it right over the top. Now I have a large handful of Spanish moss, and now I'm going to place the pumpkin that we created. I'm going to add some berries. I just picked a couple sprigs up at Michael's. There is our front porch pumpkin decoration, and the beauty of this pumpkin is it will last forever.
So I grabbed this tomato cage and I took some Bare Premium Black Matte spray paint and I took it outside and I spray painted just the vertical poles of the tomato cage. Once the spray paint was fully dry and I cut off the top portion of my tomato cage, I then came in with some very heavy jute twine. You just start at one spot on the circle and you just lay your jute twine over top and hold it there until the hot glue sets. Once the hot glue sets, you just take the jute twine and you wrap it all around the circle. And then I just finish it off by securing it with a bit of hot glue. And then I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side of the tomato cage. This is my finished tomato cage plant stand. I actually made two to have an elevated look for my fall moms and my fall porch. So to begin, I'm going to take this paint from Dixie Belle in the shade Dry Sage. So I'm going to take this clay dirt here and using a small stencil brush, I am going to tap it on into the semi-dry paint. Next, I'm going to take some gray black paint and I'm actually going to work it into the dirt, and then I'm going to apply that onto the vase as well. Next, I'm going to take this old wreath form that I had laying around. Then I'm going to take some artificial leaves and I'm going to take some gold wire and I'm just going to poke it through the bottom of the leaf, and then I'm going to work the leaf into the wreath form. And then I'm going to take this rustic dried floral and I'm going to work that in as well. And then this is the finished planter. Also added in some sticks that I just found in my backyard. That gives my planter some height.
The next time you are at your local dollar store, pick up some wire garden hanging baskets. Turn one wire basket upside down and place on top of a second basket, secure together by using 3 zip ties that are placed equidistant from each other. Take a string of LED lights, hang the battery box inside the basket globe and connect to the top. Turn the lights on and wrap the lights evenly around the globe. both vertically and horizontally. Secure the end of the light string to the basket using a twist tie. Using a leafy garland of your choice, start to tuck and glue the different leaves to the wire basket globe. Now, remember all those chains and hooks that you removed from the baskets? Let's put them to good use. Reconnect these chains of different lengths to the hooks and tighten the hook back together using some pliers. If you have a porch swing, here is a fun way to hang the globes without drilling additional holes into your porch ceiling. Thread the stick through your porch swing ceiling hooks to create a horizontal rod and hang your garden globes from the branch. Use your remote to turn the lights on and enjoy the warm glow of your new outdoor lighting.
I'm now going to stencil my design onto this middle bit of the napkin. I've got a really nice dark green here. Okay. That should be enough. Now this is dry and I've cut it into 4 bits. Using an artist's brush and some water, I'm going to paint around a section of leaves because I want to pull this part out. Any glue that you've got, and then taking one of my pieces that I've cut out, going to put it onto my pumpkin like that and smooth it down. And because it's got a white background, it just blends into the pumpkin. So I'm taking the same gel medium that I used before, and then I'm going to take some gold leaf and using a very soft brush, pat it down. And here are my finished pumpkins. I think it's really nice to have glam ones for a change.
Time to break out of jail. That is, the Walmart ball jail. You also need some green reindeer moss. Start by spray painting the Walmart ball with moss green spray paint. Separate the large pieces and stretch out any chunks that are thick. With a can of general spray adhesive, spritz a small portion of the ball with the adhesive. Take a small patch of green moss and press it onto the ball in the sticky area. Press and hold for a few seconds to make sure it sticks. Continue to spray the ball and attach the green moss to the outside. Once you cover the entire ball with spray adhesive and moss, give the entire moss-covered ball an overall coat of the spray adhesive. Style it in a woven basket for a textured boho look. Place in a low, colored glass bowl for a more modern look. And for a traditional look, a large ceramic pot is perfect for this moss-covered ball.
First step of this easy peasy process is going to be to paint our pumpkin white. We'll just take our decoupage paper, get a little hole inserted in it. And now that we've let our pumpkin dry, now we're going to use our decoupage medium gel. You can use Mod Podge, you can use whatever you so desire. All around the entire pumpkin and the bottom. We'll come over here, take our decoupage and begin wrapping it down. We're going to take this off. We'll just start applying our medium liberally on the bottom as well. Now that we've let our decoupage medium glue dry, now we're going to use some metallic gold here, your jar of paint. Easy, simple fall tutorial that looks fabulous in any home.